and welcome back to Dead by Daylight. I'm gonna hit ready now. Um, we are gonna be looking into the new killer, the twins, and I haven't played Dead by Daylight in quite a long time, and because of that, I have no blood points to put into her. But we're gonna give her a very naked run. We're not gonna have any add-ons. We're just running her oppression perk, which we'll go over. No offerings. We're gonna give her a full-blown naked run, see how she feels, and then what I'll probably do is I'll probably play a whole bunch of matches, try to get some blood points up, get a Mori, and then if I manage to do that, you probably saw the Mori right at the beginning of this. So, her backstory, I haven't read this yet, by the way. A pair of conjoined twins, Charlotte and Victor Deshays, formed an emotional bond like none other. The unlikeliness of their successful birth in the 17th century could be described as miraculous, yet it immediately brought about their life of persecution. The twins emerged with Victor's lower body affixed into the chest of his sister, legs twisted around her muscles and organs. He was smaller than Charlotte, grown as if he were an appendage on her body rather than a fully formed boy. As the newborn screeched, too did the midwife who delivered them. Running from the home, yelling of the demon birthed by a witch, so began the hunting of Charlotte, Victor, and their mother Madeline. The coming years were fleeting memories for the twins, yet they were the closest thing to a normal life they would know. The journey with their mother was what they believed all children underwent. The games of running and hiding through France's countryside being an ordinary occurrence. At the age of 5, a new challenge to the game was presented as their mother fell ill. Pale and exhausted, Madeline had no choice but to pass responsibility of collecting food onto Charlotte. The girl, burdened with extra clothing that concealed Victor's protruding body, set out from their forest tent and marched to the nearby town. Though a peculiar sight, she did what she had been trained for, waiting for an opening at the market and swiping whatever food she could. It was a victory in the game, but one short-lived. After darkness, glowing flames surrounded the family's encampment. Bobbing through the darkness, a single commanding shout broke the night's silence, and a mob of witch hunters streamed in. Grubby hands tore the twins from their bed, Charlotte frantically kicking all who approached. Madeline cried for her children, her voice abruptly silenced by a club to her skull. Victor shrieked in the wailings of a trapped rat. The hunters coordinated quickly. A judge on hand declared Madeline guilty of witchcraft, evidence by her demon spawn. Within minutes, they shackled her unconscious body to a tree, surrounding her feet in dry twigs and moss. As she awoke, she did not struggle, only begged her children to turn away. They would be given no choice. The twins were forced to watch as the torch was lit, and they watched as flames leapt up their mother's skirt, charring and sizzling her flesh. They watched as fat dripped from her body and her face bubbled and twisted. They watched until the screams that tore her vocal cords were no more, and that was left and that was left, I think, all that was left, I didn't even see the all, was the crackling of embers and a nauseating stench. Whatever joy and goodness were in them died with their mother. Caged and transported to an old wooden temple, they were sold to a secretive group clad in dark cloaks. Victor reacted with the ferocity of a rabid beast at any who approached, clawing and biting. The only solace that could calm him was the embrace of his sister. Charlotte, bitter and hateful to all but her brother, found purpose in being his protector. It's a long backstory. They've been doing really, really, really long backstories recently. Within the temple, they were exposed to unusual experiments, some cruel, many simply baffling. One day, they would be made to break the neck of a small gray bird. The next, they would bleed their fingers into a vase of roses. Every seventh day, they would sleep with the branch of a damp oak beneath their pillow. Then there was the chanting, a never-ending chorus from cloaked figures on scheduled intervals. In time, a final experiment was planned. Two robed figures herded the twins to the center of the temple, holding Charlotte upon an altar in a room altar with candelabras. The wrinkled face of a man peered from under his hood, placing a hand on the forehead of each twin, making careful examination of their skulls. Memento mori, he uttered as he withdrew a shining blade. Charlotte rolled to her side, shifting her brother off the altar. With a screech, he stretched his arm as far as he could, knocking a candelabra to the ground. The flames took to the dry wood. Immediately, they swept over the floor, igniting the black robes that brushed against it. Screams of agony pierced the chaos. Invigorating Charlotte, she dashed through the inferno, vision concealed with nothing but black smoke and blazing flame. A painful heaviness filled her lungs. No exit could be found, every step leading to overwhelming heat. She fell to her knees. She stumbled from the fire into dewy grass. Without looking back, she ran into the forest until she collapsed. When Charlotte opened her eyes, she reached for Victor's hand. He made no attempt to budge. His body hung helplessly from her torso. She clasped his face, stared into his sad, still eyes. The movements she was accustomed to his body, pulling at her skin, his legs prodding at the cavity in her chest were no more. Victor was dead. Oh. Charlotte had no choice but to continue moving as she mourned, fearing black cloaks and witch hunters were prowling. She concealed her brother's corpse under her clothing and marched for the sewers of a nearby city. There she set up camp, emerging often to steal whatever food she could, resorting to raiding barns for pig slop when desperation set in. Throughout the years, Victor's corpse rotted as his limbs oozed and blackened, yet his body demonstrated resistance to complete decomposition, as if his sister's blood still coursed through him. Protecting his lifeless body became Charlotte's sole reason for being, refusing to ever be separated from the only family she had left. Life into her teenage years was a game of survival. Her hatred of humanity grew each day under the realization they would never leave her be. No matter how many died during her botched robberies and desperate attempts to escape, there would always be more to pursue, and sling words of condemnation at her monster, demon, witch, and it was the Blackcoats who were the most of them. Their hunt for her was unending, forcing her to constantly abandon shelter and run. For years, Charlotte fled, drawing blood out of necessity, cradling her long dead brother in the night. During a frigid winter, her body began to break down. Food was scarce, and a refugee of rickety shacks were no use against freezing temperatures. Sickle in hand, she sheltered near her campfire in the woods, not knowing if the black cloaks would take her before the cold did. As frost crystallized around her nostrils and her lips took on a gentle blue hue, Charlotte felt something she had never expected: acceptance. She closed her eyes, opening herself to the serenity of death, when a shriek, shrill and vicious, pierced her ears. Victor spasmed and flailed from her chest, a cloud of fog encompassing him. Before she could react, he spilled from her in a bloody puddle, landing on the snow and running. Pulling herself from the edge of death, she gave chase. Calling his name, she ran through the forest until her legs could hardly carry her, until finally, within her view, was Victor, sitting at the edge of a thick fog. His face twisted and Farrell screamed as a dark hooded figure emerged from the fog, grabbed his arm, and seized him. The serenity that had crept into Charlotte was extinguished and replaced with the seething hatred and rage she had depended on for so long. With a tight grip on her sickle, she charged into the fog, prepared to eviscerate any who set foot near her brother. That's actually a good backstory. Well done behavior. I like that. That is crazy. Like it plays on the whole, oh, conjoined twins, oh, craziness, oh, we're gonna murder everybody, and it's pretty good. I gotta give it to him. All right, so I already read these. The perks that come with her are kind of interesting. For Hoarder, you the trial begins with 2 additional chests in the environment. And the rarity of the items in the chest is decreased, which is interesting. When a survivor picks up an item or interacts with the chest within 24 meters of you, you receive a notification, one of those like boosh, as if someone missed a skill check or unhooked someone. Oppression, when you damage a generator, up to 3 other random generators also begin regressing. If the affected generators are being repaired, any survivors repairing them receive a difficult skill check. Ooh, we finally got a match, finally. That's actually the one that I'm going to be running because I think I could make that work with my generator build, my gen build thing that I have. Coup de Grace. Each time a generator is completed, Coup de Grace grows in power. Gain a token. Consume 1 token to increase the distance of your next lunge attack by 60%, which is interesting. Blood Bond. Though forever bound through blood and trauma, the twins have been granted the power to separate from the shared body. Together, they hunt as brother and sister, doubling the threat to survivors. Press and hold the power button to unleash Victor. Swap control between Charlotte and Victor by tapping the ability button. While left on his own, Victor will trigger a killer instinct, revealing to Charlotte the outlines of survivors who are walking or running near him. Survivors who can hear Victor's shrieks are susceptible. However, Victor can be crushed by survivors while Charlotte is being controlled. If crushed, Victor will regrow on Charlotte after some time has passed. While controlling Victor, hold the ability button to charge a pounce and tap the attack button to unleash it. Successfully landing a pounce deals damage to the survivor. If the survivor was at full health, Victor will latch on. So that's really interesting. So it's like you essentially pounce on them and you damage them. I want to see if oh cool, bloody party strippers. I want to see if that means like if they're injured, it pounces on them and like holds them down and injures them, or like if they're already injured, does it not do anything and give a wounded status effect like it does for Legion? I think if you could have Victor running around and like Victor can down survivors, I feel like that'd be a little overpowered, so we're gonna see. Alright, there we go, finally, Mount Ormond. I really hope that nobody got disconnected. I like the look of this killer so far. Alright, so... there we go. Took a second to unbind. Alright, charge pounds, control Charlotte. Interesting, interesting, very interesting. I want to see what this pounce is like. Alright, so you definitely slow down with it. Ooh, okay, so it forces back. Oh, and... oh, really interesting. Oh, and there it goes. They got pushed off. Interesting, very interesting. That's cool. I like that. Also, Ormond got a rework, if you guys couldn't tell, by the big-ass machine thing right here. Bobcat, I know what they're called, the cranes. Really interesting. So, I'm just saying, like, little kid, horror, that's a big no-no. Ow! So close. Little kid, horror, that's a big no-no for old King Boy here. Ooh. Wow. I did not do that very good. Alright, let's go back here. Unbind Victor. Oh. Okay, so you can down them. Interesting, interesting, very interesting. And when you go back to Charlotte, it takes a little bit. Interesting, interesting, very interesting. Okay, so they just killed Victor. Interesting. Wow, this killer is gonna be really tough. Oh, and if you look down, you can actually see Victor on the stomach. That's weird. You can tell this is a survive with friends because of how they're playing. Now, what you can do then... can I not... there we go. Unbind Victor. Missed. Oh, and I got crushed. Oh, ooh. Oh, that's so weird. That is very weird. I want to kick a generator here as well. I want to see what the kicking of a generator does here. Alright, let them go for right now. So, I was trying to say it, but I'm getting distracted here. The baby thing, the whole like, hey, let's have a weird little demon baby running after people. Yeah, that's a big hard stop for me. That's the small child running after you. God damn, that's terrifying. All right, let's get you. Are you the one that I already hooked before? Oh, well, you got decisive strike, so yeah, you are. All right, whatever. We made you waste your decisive strike. All right, let's unhook Victor. Unbind, unhook, whatever it is. Okay, so she's upstairs. Interesting. I really kind of like the killer so far. to me at least, it brings a new horror element. Ooh, alright, so doesn't have the same kind of attack capabilities. Okay, got her. Interesting. Okay, so I wonder if I do want to do a survivor match here as well, because I want to see what kind of oh, and you use your sickle to break it. Cool. I want to see what kind of thing happens when you get Victor on your head. Yeah, these guys are definitely a survive with friends, but I know I'm gonna get steamrolled. I'm learning the killer. This is all like me freshly working on the killer. I've never played or seen this killer before. Quite honestly, like up until this point, like I didn't even know that there was a new killer coming. If I would have known, I would have at least gotten blood points. But I've been on a bit of a hiatus from Dead by Daylight. I managed to 4K on a Legion run, and I didn't have any add-ons, and I had no perks. And I was like, all right, it's time for me to take a little bit of time for prosperity's sake. I'm wondering if Victor is a little bit faster. He does feel like he's a little bit faster. Yeah, they're definitely survive with friends. Because they're all like, oh, let me get in the way of you. Okay, let's unbind Victor. I kind of like playing as Victor a little bit more than I like playing as Charlotte. Honestly. You have yourself like a little cooldown thing. Like whenever you do it, you can't just automatically start walking and moving around. Like when you come back to Charlotte, it's like she's stunned almost. I don't know why you did that, but you did. Also, Victor is no longer on you? Question mark? So I've been purposely trying to not like really focus too much on like getting hooks. I don't really care about getting hooks, honestly. I more care about checking out the killer and the perk powers and stuff like that. Victor is still on the person. They have yet to get Victor off of them. So you essentially can have Victor on you infinitely? Question mark? There's Nea. Let's go get Nea. Interesting. It didn't show Victor on her. I wonder if that's a bug. Because it didn't show Victor on her. But yet she still had like the broken status. Now, of course, decisive strike. She's gonna run right there. Yeah, you can tell that this is a survive with friends team. I really find this killer to be really interesting though. Honestly. She's she's upstairs. Yeah, there they go. They got it. Get out of here. You really don't want to play that game. Oh, you had Dead Hard. Alright. Interesting. And then I can just go right back to controlling Victor. I wonder, can Victor... No, okay, so Victor can't do any, like, pouncing or anything like that. He definitely feels like he's faster. Can he close a hatch? No. Okay. And I also can't go back... Oh, I can't go back to Charlotte until that. Interesting, interesting. Very interesting. So when he's around objectives, like right next to objectives, he can't actually go out. Oh, and Victor isn't in her chest because Victor was out. Oh, that's weird. All right, I can dig this killer. I'm all right with this killer. Yeah, you can tell all these guys are survive with friends. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna try to do you know, some more matches, try to get a Mori. If I got a Mori, you already saw it then. But this killer, one, a horrific emanation of death and destruction that I have no idea how I'm ever going to be able to cope with it. And two, really, really, really interesting and fun to play, actually. Like, you essentially have two killers that you're running around with, which is completely different than everything else, and it incorporates what a lot of people have been asking for this entire time, where they're like, oh hey, I want a killer where, you know, it's a small child, like a doll, or like people wanted Chucky or something like this. I think this is as close to something like Chucky as we'll get. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time. Bye guys.